Roll Tide, everybody. Welcome to Cover Crimson. Clint Lamb, Mick, Gillispie, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Nolan Wilson has just picked Alabama, and the run of blue chip prospects continues for this class. We're going to talk about it, what he means, where he's going to fit in. Clint's going to break it down like nobody else can, and we appreciate you guys being here for the show. So let's get this party started. This is just one of many because we got another one of these tomorrow. So we'll tell you about that as well. But thank you for being here in Roll Tide. All right, there he is, Clint Lamb. I'm Mick Gillispie. Clint, Bama's been on a roll, and it continues with Wilson.
Yeah. Once again, another day of us hopping on here and talking about Alabama knocking it out of the park with a very highly coveted defensive lineman, or recruit really in general. Just so happens that this one in particular is a defensive lineman. Miami was making a heavy pursuit. They did make it interesting in the end. You've still got to hang on to Nolan Wilson, but Alabama right now, they are in great shape. They landed a commitment. It's at a position of need. You already had J.J. Finch recently commit. You had Camarion Johnson. You had, Jamarian Matthews. And you could potentially be adding later on Tank Jones, a five-star recruit who's down, I think, to Alabama, Texas A&M, and Oregon, if I'm not mistaken, which is, I guess we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But Wilson, the number 68 overall player, the number 4 ranked defensive lineman, the number 3 ranked player from the state of Mississippi. Good get for Alabama at this point, Mick. No doubt about it. The hot streak continues.
Yeah, this is a big one. Just because, well, we say that a lot, but when you talk about these guys, these top recruits, I mean, there's a reason why Alabama has gone hard after these guys and what they bring to the table. And that's what I love hearing when you talk about it. So when you look at Nolan Wilson, what exactly do you envision him doing at Alabama, and why is he so important to this class?
Well, I think, when you look at him body type wise, he feels like that kind of 4'3" base in. He's a little bit bigger, 6'4", 250. Seems to have a frame that's going to hold a lot more weight. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of his senior year, he's pushing 260, 265. Wouldn't be surprised if he ended up, getting to Alabama being around 270. Like, none of that would surprise me at all. He doesn't have the same type of build necessarily, but kind of like Jeremiah Beeman. He's a little bit leaner as far as his frame than Beeman. Like, I don't think he's going to be a 312, 315 pound nose tackle before it's all said and done. But in the similar sense of, he got to Alabama, I think, weighing about 260, and now he's weighing 312 pounds. So that's close. That's 50 plus pounds that he's added to his frame since getting to Tuscaloosa, and he's only been on campus for, I guess, about a year and a half now, if that. Wilson has some inside-out versatility. Like I said, built more like a 4'3" base in right now, like a bigger body guy, like a Michael Williams, or good player, though. I still think there's some rawness here. Still think he needs to add mass. He needs to add strength so he can hold up better at the point of attack. Would like to see him play with a little bit better pad level more consistently, but this guy's got some juice, whether it be, if you're asking him to do some stuff inside, whether you're asking him to do some stuff out there on the edge. Definitely think he kind of fits that mold of like a heavy end in Kane Womack's defense, or, prior to, I think he would have played like a heavy end in Nick Saban's defense. Is obviously going to be probably a bandit in Alabama's, but has that inside versatility because you got Jamarian Matthews as well. Maybe he could play some Wolf, but I see him more so growing into a bandit. You potentially could be adding Tank Jones, who I think has got Wolf bandit versatility. So overall, Wilson is just a really nice get for this defensive line class. He's going to be a great addition to Alabama's defensive line room. But anybody that tells you that they think he's going to come in and immediately contribute, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. We'll have to wait and see. You never know with these guys. If he shows up in a year from now after a year more of development and he's kind of improved on some of these things and he's much bigger and much stronger, we can have another conversation then. But I think right now he kind of seems like a guy who is going to need a little bit of time to develop. But once that development happens, tremendous upside for this guy.
What comp do you have for him? And I know it's never perfect, but you're a guy that can look at these players and kind of say, "Hey, this guy kind of reminds me of this, or kind of reminds me of that." Or is there a comp for him? I mean, is there anybody that you look at and think, "Hey, this guy's just kind of his own deal"?
Man, that's a great question. From a build standpoint, kind of seems a little leggy. A lot of his frame is legs, long legs, it seems like. I mean, kind of shorter torso. I'm the same way, by the way. Now, granted, I'm not 6'4", but that's kind of how I'm built. My brother's all torso, I'm all legs. But the rawness, it makes it difficult because I don't have like a huge history of looking at guys on the high school level. So I'm more so seeing guys that are playing in college and put a huge emphasis on NFL draft for a very long time. So guys who are more completed products or closer to being completed products on the college level, moving on to the NFL. But I think I don't think he's ever going to be like a natural edge bender where he's just going to be able to turn the corner on you consistently. But I think, when you look at Kane Wommack's defense, the fact they want that kind of, that bandit, which is more of like a 4-3 base in, playing to the strong side, the wide side of the field, need to be able to get a little bit of bend out of that position, got to be able to transition, from it being, if run to pass, you got to be able to make that transition quickly. I think he's got some of those traits, but he just seems to come out of his stance a little bit high at times, and that kind of hinders him. But trying to think, I would probably need some time to think about it. Pernell McPhee is someone that on the surface kind of comes to mind. He played for Mississippi State, ended up playing for the Baltimore Ravens for quite a while. He was a little bit shorter, 6'3", I think about 200, anywhere from 270 to 280 pounds. I think he dropped a little bit of weight to make him more of a true edge guy on the NFL level. And the fact that he was a little bit lean for a defensive lineman, that's where the comparisons come in for me. But I think that I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, watching the transition of Jeremiah Beaman, I did think he was going to end up being like a 275, 280 pound guy. I didn't know that they were going to turn him into a nose tackle at 312 pounds. So that's the part where a lot of people were like, "Oh, how can you fit in all these guys, Matthews and potentially Tank Jones and, Nolan Wilson?" It is possible that Wilson ends up being a guy that they had considerable mass to, like a Kelby Collins. And as far as potential usage, I would say Kelby Collins is a pretty fair comparison, because while we think that he's going to be situationally used further outside at bandit on the edge a little bit, more so right now, at least in my opinion, I'm viewing him more as an interior defensive lineman. He's 285 pounds. Got a pretty athletic looking frame for a guy who's 280 pounds. If you add 35 pounds to Nolan Wilson's frame, I bet he would look pretty similar. Don't exactly win the same way. I think Kelby Collins, to me, if I remember correctly, I think he was a little bit more, he seemed more ready. But I think Nolan Wilson is a hell of a get for Alabama, and they desperately needed somebody else in this defensive line class who can come in and add, whether it be at the bandit position or whether it be on the interior. I'm more so in focusing. Bandit's where he's going to be talked about and listed, but I think his biggest impact early could end up being doing some situational stuff inside. So I'll be very curious to see how he grows. I'll be very curious to see how he develops, and I'll be very curious to see how Kane Wommack and company end up using him.
Guys, we're brought to you by our friends at Residence Inn, Ocean City, Maryland, back-to-back coastal-style hotel of the year, right there on the Ocean City side of the old line state, right? Great place to go hang out, beautiful hotel. The guys from the next round were just there. Our friend Keith is a big Bama guy. He wants you to come up and check it out, but not far from Secrets, which is just an amazing Floribama-type bar. The boardwalk, you got great restaurants and seafood and all that stuff, and it gives you a different look for the holiday. So thank you to Residence Inn. Great hotel, and we appreciate them. All right, let's talk about the hot streak going on right now at Alabama, because this thing is rolling. We kept waiting and waiting and waiting. Why is it taking so long? And then all of a sudden, it's been a flurry of commitments that are going to Alabama, and I don't think that the run's over yet.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3.5 or so weeks, I mean, you've added 13 commitments, 3 5-stars, a couple more top 100 recruits. I think 2 more in Jet Tamala and Sam Utu, who were top 220 prospects. And then I want to say, I think 6 3-stars. But as we've talked about with all of those 3-stars, we like the upside. We see the vision. Are they all going to pan out? No, they will not. I would say a safe bet without taking a lot of time to do a ton of research. I'm talking surface level based off of this staff's ability to evaluate and develop. I would say if you can get a 50% hit rate with those 3-stars, you're doing pretty good. But 50% means you're getting a 3-star and you're turning him into like a highly rated 4-star caliber of player, where he's and then maybe, you can get a little bit out of some of the other guys as well, where you get contributors, maybe guys who aren't super impactful players. But so 13 commitments, I mean, 3 5-stars in the last 3.5 weeks, with the potential for a 4th tomorrow in Jira Edwards, and no one else in the country has more than 2. So just in the last 3.5 weeks, Alabama has added more 5-stars on top of already having Jordan Edmonds than anybody else in the country has in their entire class. That is as impressive as it gets. I mean, Mick, can you remember a time where Alabama went on this kind of streak? Now, it's different. You're kind of loading up the month of June. A lot of factors have played into that, but I mean, this is probably one of the best 3.5-week runs, and really you could shorten it even to like the last 10, 11, 12 days, whatever it's been. But I mean, have you ever seen a run like this out of Tuscaloosa?
Man, I mean, these are kind of like those Nick Saban early year runs, like where Alabama was just kind of hitting on all cylinders. I mean, and it never really slowed down, but it seemed like it got more spread out. But this feels like kind of those signing days that we used to have back when signing day was signing day, right? And it'd be like, man, there's a lot of empty spots. And then all of a sudden it would be like, bang, 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 bang. You get all these guys. Things are different now, obviously. But at the same time, I feel like, Kalen DeBoer and his staff, Courtney Morgan, obviously the GM that puts everything together, and the group of coaches that are around him have worked really hard. They took advantage of those 4 weekend visit, the recruiting visits, and kind of line things up. And now look, I mean, like, this is a really good class, sliding into the top 5, and maybe even better when it's all said and done, depending on, what happens with Edwards. Right. But I mean, I really feel like the elite level of this class is impressive. And then the guys that kind of aren't there yet, they give you a lot of hope that they're going to develop into players that are really good too. So it kind of feels like you got the 5-stars. Hey, we expect these guys to really come in and they're going to have to play early because we're paying them to do that. And then these guys, ton of talent. We're going to develop like a Nolan Wilson, who could end up being one of the best in the country. Probably not this next year, but maybe the year after that.
That's right. Yeah. And when I look, I think the 3 best bets that I would say going 3-star to 4-star, Jahvari Barnett, just because I think a lot of his evaluation is based off of limited tape, and because he missed most. I mean, I think he played in 3 games. JJ Finch, I think based off of his offer list and how coveted he is right now, I think the more people take a look at this guy, the higher he's going to climb. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got to be a 4-star, at bare minimum in that range of a Cam Johnson. And then probably Brian Williams would be the other one. And it's just, he's still raw. He's still kind of limited in what he's asked to do on the high school level because he's still growing and developing. But, I mean, the traits are absolutely there. And I'm not saying that, Cable or Kelly or Zay Hall, like I'm not saying none of those guys can climb to 4-star status. I'm saying my best bets, if I had to call them right now, would probably be those 3. But, I'd love to get your take on this and just talk about this for just a minute. So Hugh Freeze and John Cohen recently kind of made some comments why they're struggling on the recruiting trail. They're going about things the right way, or how they interpret things to be the right way. And you've got to announce some deals as far as August 1st. And That's when things become public and you got to turn the information over, and they think people are using fake money and trying to get these guys to commit. A lot of Auburn fans have made the connection, even though Alabama was never specifically mentioned. A lot of Auburn fans have run with that because they see, okay, we're struggling. Alabama's doing really well. Our coach and our AD are calling out people for giving inflated or fake numbers to these recruits to get them to commit. He must be talking about Alabama, or they must be talking about Alabama. I don't think that's the case. I mean, granted, I could be wrong. I think it was a very strategic way of saying the statements that are making the statements that they made. That kind of, first of all the Auburn fans who were up in arms because they're down there in the range of UNLV and, ranked outside the top 60 as far as their recruiting classes. Auburn fans were getting ready to grab the pitchforks and torches and head to the plains. And making this comment, everybody's like, oh, well, that's why we're struggling within state recruiting and struggling, and we're losing guys. Getting, you got a 4-star receiver flipping his commitment from Auburn to Kentucky and things like that. I think more so, and this is speculation because there's no proof here anyways, but I'll go ahead and add some context. USC feels like one of these programs right now, and the reason I say that is you've got guys who are projected to go elsewhere up until like the day before they announce, and then all of a sudden everything flips, and now they're going to USC. That to me is like, if you've got that sort of thing going on, but you've got a 5-star receiver like Sadarian Morgan who grew up an Alabama fan in the state of Alabama, who's been trending to Alabama for months, when that guy ends up picking Alabama, that's not what I feel like would be an indicator for what we're talking about, or what Hugh Freeze and Cohen are talking about. I think it's more so that type of approach where money's getting thrown around. Maybe Florida State, they just flipped an Auburn commitment, and then the very next day, a defensive lineman that Auburn was very heavily in on, he committed to Florida State. It could be Florida State, could be USC, could be both. Maybe he is trying to take a subtle shot at Alabama, and he feels like they're doing it too. The bottom line is, if you are doing this overinflated stuff where you're making fake promises that you're not going to be able to keep, that is going to bite you in the ass. It's not going to work. And so if that's Alabama, then good luck. That's not going to work out very well for you. I just don't think that's Alabama, and that's the point. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's the Wild West still. And, and to them, that it could be an excuse or it could be true. I don't know. I mean, I met John Cohen a long time ago when he was a baseball coach. I know he's a guy that brings a good track record. I like John. I don't know Hugh Freeze, but they're getting their ass kicked in recruiting right now. And it's not just by us. I mean, and they're supposed to have all the Yellowwood money and everything else. And, and I look for them to eventually make a run. But I don't necessarily think that's Alabama. I think it's just, they're saying in general. I mean, that could be a lot of schools, so some of these schools that never recruited, all of a sudden now they're getting all these guys, like you said, USC. And you're like, where's all this money coming from? Right.
Money,
and then when the money has to come out and be shown, we'll find out. Right.
That's right.
Texas A&M, which have always wanted to spend money. So it's not just Alabama. I think Alabama's approach has been, you got to have the NIL money, but you also want to create a really good atmosphere and want people that are kind of wanting to be there. And as they recruit Jaira Edwards, the same thing. They want this 5-star guy to come in and be like, hey, it's not just about the money. It's about me wanting to be in a place where I can win championships, where I can develop and learn. And I don't think Alabama has focused on players that they feel like are just about the NIL money. But it's for Auburn, I don't know. I mean, how about the quarterback that they got from Penn State out of nowhere? It just doesn't feel like kind of normal recruiting for them. And maybe it's Hugh Freeze having a tough time connecting. And then they haven't won in a long time, too. That's the other thing. I mean, when's the last time Auburn was good?
Well, I think what's more likely, what they're saying is going on, which I agree that is going on some places. I just don't think it's going on where a lot of fans are taking a vague statement and running with it. And by fans, I mean Auburn fans. But what's more likely, that is what is holding them back from a recruiting front? Or is that just an excuse to get everybody off their backs, and that the people are no longer upset at Hugh Freeze? They feel like he's now a victim. Or I would say a lot of people, some people aren't buying it. But a lot of the fans are saying, hey, well, this is why. I mean, Alabama's crushing it right now. We're doing terrible. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, it's because, Alabama's doing some shady things they're going to have to address here on August 1st. It makes them feel better. It gives you 4 weeks of feeling better about what's going on right now. Or is it more likely that you've had 2 years of people boosters forking over quite a bit of NIL money, and you've been getting some of these players, and then you're going to put a sub 500 football team on the field. And then you keep talking about how it's the next year. And, oh, man, we're getting close. We're building the roster, but it's going to take some time. Like, I even want to say that there's been some subtle comments like, hey, getting bowl eligible in 2025 is great. That's an improvement. We still might not be there. He's trying to buy himself as much time as possible, in my opinion. But the boosters are tired of forking over tons of money, especially now that the revenue sharing is a thing and you can buy players that way. So they're saying, hey, well, okay, imagine an offense. Imagine what Nick Saban was trying to do at the end of his tenure. Which was he had gone from kind of having more athletic offensive linemen, the movers, the smaller guys. Then he decided he wanted to go more power based again, started recruiting heavier players, more power based, got, Eric Wolford involved with the offensive line. He started going that route. Now imagine if Nick Saban had gotten fired, and now because Alabama did this through their a coaching transition. Kalen DeBoer recruits a different style of offensive lineman. To me, it's kind of slowed down the transition a little bit. But imagine you're Auburn and Hugh Freeze wants you or imagine you're an Auburn booster and Hugh Freeze wants you to continue to just hand over a ton of money. And it's like, brother, we don't know if you're going to be here in a year. Like, you got to go do something with the talent that we've given you, because the last thing we're going to do is recruit your style of players. You go out there and put a sub 500 football team out there again. Us fire you, pay you a ton of money to go away with a buyout, and then turn around and we bring a different coach in who needs a different style of player. We'd rather save the money. You go do something, and if you do something and you stick around, then we'll start helping you as far as the NIL front. Now, that seems way more likely to me than what they're pitching right now. But is Hugh Freeze supposed to say that? Hey, we had our boosters had our backs the last couple of years. That's why we finished with top 10 recruiting clauses. Right now, they don't believe in us, so they don't really have our backs. They want to see it first. That seems way more like he would never come out and say that, but that seems way more likely to me. So if you're an Alabama fan and you're freaking out about August 1st, I would just go ahead and say, am I guaranteeing that nothing's going to come to light and this is all going to fall apart? I'm not saying it's 100%, but I'm saying I'm not freaking out about it at all, and I don't think you should be either.
Yeah, well, I mean, John Cohen went out and found Mike Leach when he was at Mississippi State, and that was the right fit. He's going to be very impatient on the losing because he knows that it'll be his job that'll be next. The guy grew up in Northport. He knows how this thing works. And so Auburn's got the resources to be successful. The league's gotten a lot more competitive, and it just, like you said, it just sounds like excuses. But then again, we'll find out. They were close last year, but then you look at the record, you got to think
August 1st, now football camp's getting cranked up. Now everybody's focused on the season. The recruiting kind of takes a little bit of a backseat. There's not as right now it's under a magnifying glass because that's all everybody's got. So and they're hoping we get to the season, we start showing improvement on the field, our boosters start backing us, and between our more success on the field because they think they're going to be much better, and the backing from some of these boosters because they're seeing us on the field be a little bit better. Before December rolls around, we can go out and start actually closing on some of these players and getting them to flip and do all that. That is the hope. It's a BS excuse, in my opinion, to just buy some time. Get us through this month where people don't crucify us. We really need some positive energy going into fall camp. We don't need fans and everybody freaking out. That's going to affect the players. It's going to affect the mood, the vibe, add pressure to everybody. So they're trying to do what they can. Oh, it's not our faults. That to me, I mean, I can't say I blame them because that seems like it would be, it has been a pretty effective method if that is indeed the case. But once again, if I'm completely wrong, which I will fully admit is entirely possible, we'll know more here in about 3.5 weeks.
So tomorrow, Jira Edwards commits, and it's Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia. He is the number 2 safety in this class. It's going to be between 3:45 and 4 tomorrow. So we'll probably be on here live to talk to you guys about it. But another chance for Auburn to try to upend Bama, and another chance for Mo Lindquist and that secondary to get better, which has been something that Alabama has continued to do. So it's going to be fun to watch that tomorrow. The other thing that's fun is looking good, and you look great with Roback. Crimson 20 is our Roback promo code, 20% off when you use that. Every email address gets you 20% off. Looking good there. Got the Crimson hoodie. I've got that Alabama hoodie. Great polos, golf look, game day look, office look, all that stuff at roback.com. And I'll tell you, Clint, I wish I had one for today. I left it at home, but it's even like the 4th of July, like is a good day for a Roback shirt.
Yeah, I mean, today would be, because see, I'm redheaded, so I'm fair complected. I tell people I can either be pink or I can be white. There's no such thing as tan. So it's pick my poison. I tend to choose white because the pink actually doesn't feel too great. Sunburns don't feel great. Today would be the perfect day for me. Be able to go outside, grill a little bit, go into the pool with my brother and my sister-in-law, my wife, and we're gonna have a great time. But being out there in the sun, man, getting a little, those are very breathable. They're not, it's not that thick material. I got some shirts that will do the job, some Columbia shirts, but something like that would be perfect too. And rocking that Alabama A on it, it'd be fantastic.
If you guys can't catch us on here, know that you always have the option of the Cover Crimson podcast network, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We post these shows up here daily, and you'll be able to watch those, listen to those on those spots. And I know a lot of you guys are doing that now, and we appreciate it. But make sure that you put them in downloads, right? So that every day you get the show. It helps us out a lot. We appreciate you being a part of it. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. And comment. We love to read the comments as well. And our show's brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Philadelphia, Mississippi, the Azaleas, the Oaks, 2 amazing golf courses at Dancing Rabbit. Go over there, Philip M. Steakhouse, the chowder, the steaks are amazing. It's so much fun. If you get rent at the Dancing Rabbit Clubhouse, you get a golf cart. You can just ride around wherever, the Silver Star, Golden Moon, go over there, hit the slots, which is really amazing slots, table games, go to the water park, Geyser Falls, go to the spa, the sports book, Golden Moon Casino with all the TVs, every game on there. You can bet on all that stuff just like you're out in Vegas. But take advantage of it. We appreciate them for being a part of our show. Have a great Independence Day. Roll Tide, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow when we do this again with another commitment. Roll Tide.
Escape to Pearl River Resort.